Hello and herzlich willkommen zum Auf die Fresse, the WXW review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, and this is Mike Kilby when I get the mute back. Mike, how's it going?
Hello. I am unmuted, aren't I? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're wonderful. Do apologise. Yes, hello there. I'm good. How are you?
Busy. Summer's really hitting us thick and fast. I think since we last recorded, I think the last time we recorded was the day before Sunderland at Wembley, which I remember the day after I want to forget. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Actually seeing my team get promoted at Wembley. First time they've won in front of a crowd since 1973, which once in a lifetime.
Yeah, it wasn't so lucky for Luton, but well, never mind.
Yeah, we'll take 6 points off you next season, mate.
Yeah,
can sort out a bill afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've had a few weeks of out shows, and I think WXW, they're dropping them thick and fast. One a week. We've got 2 to talk about this week, True Colours, and after over 2 years, we return to Hamburg. That's Powercrowd is back. But we've got a few quick tidbits of news. We're not going to touch on Maggot in Super Strong Style. That's dropping in the next few weeks, so we'll talk about his forever. After that's dropped on demand everywhere. But first up,
progress on at this point.
Well, yeah, it'll be like a line item, I guess. But first big news, I guess, Sense of Alt, who's on the shelf for, I think he said about a month. He had surgery, I think, this past week. So we've had 2 matches of Igel Blanc, or he's had 2 matches of Igel Blanc on the 2 shows about to cover. You know, they quickly did the series. Explains why we did both so quick, but it's also meant that Broken Rules tomorrow, as we record this, is being changed. The advertised, let me not trip over this, tag team tables elimination match for the titles. It's now Bobby Guns, Michael Knight against Rotten Flot. Igel's replaced Bobby Guns in that scramble match. So yeah, best wishes to Sense of Alto, and heal up soon and fast.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of when it rains it pours, I think, from at the moment, because he quite recently had was it a burglary or a break-in in his car or hotel or something, and he lost a lot of gear, didn't he? Yeah. So yeah, do really feel sorry for him. He's had a rough couple of months or so. Hell of a, I always felt he's one of the underappreciated sort of workers in Europe as on a whole, really. Yeah, I feel like all the best wishes to him, and say fingers crossed we get something a little bit, get him back to his best in a couple of months or so.
Staying with the French theme, Fight for Paris is back on the books. This was originally announced for this past January. It's the co-promoted show with APC. So it was meant to take place in January. It got cancelled because of COVID restrictions. It's now back in the books. It's going to be taking place at Nanterre Studio Jenny on July 10th. We'll touch like who's on the post and what have you later on. But yeah, I think last time we did a 2-night term, so it's just one show. But yeah, WXW working with the promotions again.
Yeah, because it was cancelled very last minute because obviously Omicron went a bit mad, didn't it?
Last variant everyone speaks of.
Yeah, the last one that mattered, really. Because the last, I think it was literally like on the Thursday it got cancelled, wasn't it? It wasn't that far out, was it?
Yeah, it was like literally they would be packing up the gear and about to set off, and then nope, it's I remember I think the local government didn't remove restrictions as expected, and
Nanterre is it's basically Paris because it's near La Défense, so it's quite central Paris, really, and very heavily built up around there, so you can sort of get it.
That's the Wall of Mirrors, isn't it? Remember from the first show?
Yes, quite possibly. Yes, it is. Sorry, it is. It's the one that they tend to use for all their shows, really, APC. But yeah, because it's surprisingly central, that venue, and especially in a city like Paris when you think about it. But yeah, it's good that they are sort of getting back into some form of relationship. I think the APC guys did very well, I think, when they came over for the showcase show at Carrot.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tristan Archer has been. He'll be in his 5th or 6th reign by the time that comes along. Obviously, Igla Bonk and Senza Volta have done very well, and likewise with not Tiago Montero, Rick Salem, Tiago Montero, and Rick Salem's obviously done very well, sort of on the lower mid card. So there's a lot sort of going in the right direction. I think for from APC to WXW, they're a promotion I think seems to do the right thing, in inverted commas. But yeah, I feel there's a lot to be gained. There's a lot of impressive lads on that sort of in that promotion, and I think being able to work with the likes of Dreisker was on it. I can't remember who else was on the poster.
Well, we'll go for some.
Yeah, if you go for it,
future run up. But yeah, there's a few names, and one thing I noticed on the post, which may be a bit telling, but let's say we'll get to that. Staying international, well, last 2 bits of international. We talked about rotation. He had a weekend in the States.
Barnstrom on a weekend.
Yeah, so not only did he, well, I think it was all tied in with Speedball Mike Bailey and Vader Scott's wedding, which congratulations to the happy couple there. In ring, rotation had 3 matches. 6-man tag for Future Stars Wrestling in Vegas, a 4-way for Black Label Pro, and of course a scrambling Game Changer Wrestling. What else do they do? Please don't come after me, bots. I know. But yeah, 3 shows in America, some fresh eyeballs, and a couple of new fans from what I've seen online.
Yeah, it was a lot of very positive reactions for rotation, which I'm absolutely delighted for. As I say, he's one of the good guys, I feel like, and being someone who's sort of contracted to the academy, he's one of the few sort of professionals sort of in Europe, and it's brilliant to see somebody of his sort of stature get that big chance in the States. He's everyone who works with him has good things to say about him, which it's good, and he's just got a style which lends itself a lot to sort of the current American indie style, I feel like, because there's a lot of lucha influence in there nowadays, which wasn't there probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
we'll see builds to anything, but again,
yeah,
can't hurt having a couple of matches and having people wanting you back. So especially WrestleMania weekend next year, who knows?
The rotation working and getting over well with sort of the local guys out there is equally good, because you think if you're a I don't know any American indie guys, to be completely honest, I'm not going to throw a name out, but if you're one of these guys and you're thinking, well, do you know what? I really enjoyed working with rotation, that's the sort of thing. Should we go and have a month in Germany? That's you kind of think it's going to work quite well for not only the rotation but also potentially Americans coming over to Europe as well. So we kind of want to get back to that position, I think, really.
Yeah, I mean, we talked last time, New Japan's Best of Super Juniors wrapped up. Wheeler Yuta had a spell in WXW. No, wasn't exactly heralded. It wasn't piggybacking on like a tag league or carrot weekend, but he had a month there. He did a lot of stuff, training, what have you. So yeah, it can only be positive both ways.
Yeah, the period when we had Wheeler Yuta over, we had Fred Yehai, we had sort of those sort of guys over. That was Chris Wolf and all that sort of thing. That was a great period in sort of the shotgun, the era, and I think that's sort of, it'd be great to sort of get back to that sort of level, especially if they've got this We Love Wrestling show coming up, where you get the students and occasional people who fly in. That's going to be a great sort of thing to get involved with, I think.
Yeah, and can be pretty much
as well as the tours.
Yeah. Speaking of international, to wrap this bit up, I would say a much bigger name, but one a lot has been fondly waiting for. Timothy Thatcher's popped up again in Pro Wrestling Noah, of all places. So I can't say I keep up with Noah's storylines, but there was a 10-man tag with a mystery partner. He was revealed as X with the old Ring Camp music, tagging alongside Hideki Suzuki, who they teamed, well, I wouldn't say team, but they've both been the NXT Performance Center, that run, which I'm sure you all want to forget. Tagging with Takashi Segura, Rene Dupree, and El Hidro del Dr. Wagner Jr. I mean, Tim Thatcher and Rene Dupree allow resistance 2022. It's what we all expected, Mike, wasn't it?
Yeah, big Portuguese and French connection there. Yeah, it's I'd say, well, for a start, it's an absolute joy to sort of have him back in a promotion and out in Japan. It's not a it's I think there's more to be excited. Even though it is Pro Wrestling Noah in 2022, I'm not going to profess to be an expert in it, but everybody I seem to know who says anything about Noah, it usually isn't positive. But
not
yeah,
these last few weeks, no.
No, definitely not. Yeah, it's good to see him. I said I know there was talk amongst people who I speak to in that promotion. There was talks that obviously Tim was planning on being over in sort of talks around sort of the start of 2020 before the WWE signing come around, that he was going to be working for a Japanese promotion sort of in the spring summer of 2020. Obviously WWE happened and COVID happened, so that never came to anything, but it seems that at least there's been a slight net positive from the WWE retirement / run, where obviously he's spoken to Suzuki, and it's put something together, I suppose, and a great fit really. And I think I'd like to think he's going to be very, very well received by Japanese crowds. I just hope it's not permanent. I hope it's just he's going to spend 3 months there, and then he can come over to Europe and spend 3 months there.
The same kind of like Chris Ridgway's just wrapped up a short run.
That being said, if we got Hideki Suzuki and Tim Thatcher for Tagfest, brilliant. Like all over that. I'd happily have Rene Dupree and Tim Thatcher over to become.
The match just locked up because there's a big festival this weekend, Japan V Cyber Fight Festival, and Tim was actually booked on that.
Yeah.
14 match cards, so if you're going to be watching it, drinks and snacks ready, I guess. He's in a part of a 12-man tag. Takashi Segura, Kazuyuki Fujita, Masakitami, Daiki Inaba, and Shuhei Taniguchi on one side. On the other side, Tim Thatcher, Simon Gotch, El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., Rene Dupree, and Michael Elgin, which... Yeah, that's it's a team.
Yeah, that's a bit of a disappointing, but I'd like to think, well, for a start, we wouldn't have to worry about Elgin coming to WXW because that's not going to happen. So, you'd like to think that there's obviously different standards for a lot of those things out there. So,
I think the main takeaway, Tim probably got a home in Japan right now, but even though it's moving to Gelsenkirchen, Timo, is home for you still waiting in Europe?
Oh, 100%. I think I don't see any reason why that won't be a thing going forward. He's got a Portuguese passport. There's absolutely zero restrictions on him working and living in Europe. So with that in mind, I don't see it. I still think it's a when and not if, really, with Tim back in Europe. So I think the run in Japan is going to be very exciting. I don't think he's going to be there full time. I don't think he's going to be there full time like Brooks. But yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, and it's the sort of thing I'll log on every morning, and occasionally there'll be a Tim Thatcher gif on the timeline. So,
and being a new one as well is always good. But move on to first for two WXW shows. They returned to Dresden v Stromberg back in May. True Colors 2022. Like True Colors last year, main event was Axel Tischer going for the title. But we'll start the bottom and work our way to the top. We'll not mention the finals, but opening match, Sense of Alto, Igel Blanc. Second match in the, impromptu series, I guess you'd say. I probably spent on par with the first one. 13.5 minutes, went quite the pace. Senza got the equalizer, if you want to use sporting terminology, I guess. Nice competitive outings. Senza, I say, equalizing the series. And this didn't have any of the nastiness I thought we saw in Papenburg, where this that edge we were talking about.
Yeah, it was a very. I think it was a very fairly fought match, if you can sort of say that. I'll be honest. I've not really been. I'd say kind of going on to the other match that happened. I've not really been the biggest fan of this series in general, because I don't really understand what happened. Barring there's a little bit of tension. Is
I don't think there was, to be honest. I think more of it was
yeah,
just
there was a
the thing
little
of
bit
the
of tension, but not
match.
much. Yeah,
Yeah, it
and it was.
wasn't like we had a long losing streak. I think it was maybe simmering event where we've got a match we want to prove who's best, like the stock competitive match, but
Yeah,
it wasn't really anything nasty. It was more we're not used to seeing Senvolsho having that kind of aggression in him.
yeah. I suppose it wasn't a malicious rivalry. It was just kind of a let's see what we can do sort of thing. And I suppose there's the theory is stone sharpens stone, in the sense that the only way you're gonna get better as a team is to know your own partner's weaknesses and strengths, I suppose, isn't there?
Yeah.
So in a way, actually, this technically really should make them even better as a team, if we're talking sort of storyline wise and actually practically as well. So in a way, I kind of get it from that perspective, but I don't feel like there was enough really said about why, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
And again,
It,
we talked earlier about the injury and the surgery and what have you. Maybe it was meant to be stuff in there and it got sped up, just to complete the series. But
yeah, and I
it,
think we will go on to the ending in the next match on the next card anyway, but I just feel like it was a bit rushed, but then I think probably with the injury on top of it, we wonder if that was probably why. I don't
yeah.
know.
Speaking of injury, the next segment, Stephanie May's not clear to compete. There was something that was dropped online before the show where Fast Time Mudo was given the opportunity to pick somebody else. He turned it down. Of course, this whole thing's been I have a fight with her or by myself. So the tag title match is a triple threat under handicap rules, I guess, on his side,
Yeah.
which I guess Doom was pretty much the die was pretty much cast the second. They said Stephanie Mays wasn't there, and I think from what they said it's a knee injury again, which awful
Yeah,
time.
it's not really looking good really for Mays at the moment, is it? It's any time she sort of gets any form of any time she gets any sort of like positive outcome, it's within a month it's gone, isn't it? It's a shame, and I think the star of the team. I know we sort of there was a lot of, including from yourself, Mudo was sort of the star of the closed set era, but I feel like since we've come back to the crowds, it's not really there for me. Whereas I think Mays, every time they've had the matches, she's been the star, I think, of that team.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a real shame for them. I don't know whether, because I don't know where Mudo really goes from here, because I really don't think he's up to scratch. With
I think
in front
since
of
the
the
crowd
crowd,
came back, they've really hemmed
it
in
showed him up, I
tag
think.
team stuff. So yeah, I mean, and again, we don't have a shotgun title lottery stuff. I wouldn't
Yeah,
even think at this point he's in line for that. I mean, who knows? So he might win the belt one of the Wheel of Wrestling tapings this weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see where he goes. Indeed, what if anything do they keep him the sidelines with random matches. We'll move on. Obviously, we have a match late, but two matches quick back to back. Bobby Guns over Levaniel. I think we said last time out, Levaniel's kind of been put back in his place since that coward main event. I thought this one, wouldn't really say it was a squash, but it was pretty much one-way traffic throughout.
yeah.
This was Bobby Guns in Control Show.
Levaniel back in his lane, almost pretty much, isn't it? Back at his level. One thing I would say, I bloody loved that lariat to win. That was brilliant. The lariat to win that match was great. It was
RB tapes.
yeah. Like if this had been Obviously, I think there's a lot to be said about obviously Levaniel dropping down the story and being the story that he's dropping like a stone. There's a lot to be said about it, but there was just nothing really from Levaniel, was there, in this match? And if this had been Bobby Guns versus, I don't know, trying to think of a name. I know he's not working there at the moment, but if this had been Bobby Guns versus, Golden Boy Santos, and he'd beat him like that, we'd kind of been like, okay, I can kind of get it because he's a trainee. Well, not a trainee, but he's sort of an academy guy rather than
the low fringes. Yeah,
he's sort of on the bottom pecking order. But Levaniel was really there was barely any offense, really, was there?
Yeah, I mean, I think he tried this big finish, then Nevada just got, like I said, just literally pulled out of straight away, and then quickly to finish. But again, this playing the storyline, we can touch on that from the Hamburg stuff. Eva Kolaski lost to Baby Allison to rematch for the women's title, and
wasn't as good as the one from Carrot.
No, I thought this one was. I mean, it wasn't bad, but to me, it just felt like it was there.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't as good as the one at Carrot. The one at Carrot I thought was really good. It was really good for what it was, but I think that we are kind of going into the sort of the trope that Allison has got. I think Allison has said she's one of the most improved workers I've seen in a long time in WXW. But I don't know if Kolaski's kind of there. She needs, I think, somebody she can get a bit of teeth in. And I think with Ava Everett, Ava Everett was a very, very good character. Was a very, very good character.
Very unlikable.
Very unlikable, but also like she had good character work. She could work pretty decently. Eva Kolaski, she can work quite well, but the character is kind of, she just decided one day at Carrot to be grumpy. And that's kind of it, really. I'm not really loving it.
Development, and again, I don't know whether this is the long-term direction or what, but I mean, there's definitely stuff there. It's not like it's a lost cause or far from it, but it definitely needs to be some bits, tooled up to if we are going to keep going down this way.
Yeah, for sure. And it's unfair to compare it to the era when we had Melanie and we had Kelly and we had Tony Storm, because that's very unlikely to be in a position like that again. But you kind of look at some of the girls in the UK and you think they would really do a good job sort of with Allison, I feel. And Eva Kolaski, there's nothing wrong with her as a worker. I just feel like they need to have a bit more than just three girls.
Yeah, and again, it feels like WXW's women's division's always perpetually being rebuilt. But
yeah,
if they're sticking with 3 in women's division, and can move on to Ocean next. But if they're sticking with 2 or 3 in that division, then they need to put some meat on the proverbial bones.
Yeah,
well, sure. Just I lost my title. I'm grumpy now. What, you boo me? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of Oshie, so there's a backstage thing. Well, early stage Robert Dreisker, talking about what happened 16 karat gold, and find out he's he was surprised it took me so long to snap, but seeing the roster cheer Jonathan Gresham over him, who was what pressed the button for him. Then all of a sudden, boom mic drops on him, and turns out Oshie's been doing double duty, acting as sound crew and, of course, wrestler. Dreisker took a pot shot saying, you only hate wrestle on the small show in Leipzig, which we mentioned before, a lot of the shows now aren't going to be making tape, which is good. Dreisker himself said they don't want everything making tape to be hyper-analyzed by folks like us, probably, but ended up with a challenge. Oshie, now we'll say, didn't back down. Called out a match, called a spot, and something like that. And she's had what 3 matches? This is only a 3rd, 4th match in WXW.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 3rd or 4th, and I will actually say that there's the whole thing about bad people being the baddies being justified, and you can kind of agree. As somebody who used to do a lot of film production, I'd want to batter people who drop boom mics into shot as well. So I completely get that. No, but we're going to go into the match. Do you want to hop onto the match now? Or
well, we've got the tag title thing first. We may as well hop on that. So, I was hungry, Rotten Flot against Fast Time Mudo. It was under tornado tag rules, which meant, sorry, Mudo, you were getting beaten like a goddamn drum, at least going in. But yeah, I mean, we kept it short. It was like just over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No tags, so you didn't have the whole thing of, Mudo and one other being, constantly being interrupted. We had the interruptions, but it wasn't the whole, the usual three-way format.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed it, but again, the fact you had Mudo by himself, it really did telegraph it. This wasn't involved that way. I was surprised Rotten Flot won. I personally thought
I'm not surprised. Sorry.
I guess with stuff happened on the show, before this, I thought, well, if it was going to be tag title change, I thought it was going to be back to the Owls. I personally had Rotten Flot down as like the JFK, or we wanted rice pudding kind of tag festival winners, that kind of thing. If they were going to do it.
Yeah, but Joe, I think there's more legs in Rotten Flot, I think, than Arrows Are Hungry. I mean, the thing I say, I love Arrows Are Hungry as a team. I think they're brilliant, and unfortunately, I've missed all of their sort of UK run with RevPro. But
they nearly did as well this past Sunday.
Yeah,
whichever airline they were on.
Yeah, Wiz, I think. The thing with obviously Rotten Flot is that I think Rotten Flot there's a lot. They're positioning Rotten Flot as the lackeys of Tristan, aren't they? Really, I think that's where they're positioning. In the same way that they had,
it is like more of a casual friendship kind of thing.
In the same way that you had Andy with JFK, sort of Andy with the belt, but JFK would occasionally sort of hang out with them, or TKO would occasionally sort of hang out with him. So I feel that sort of thing, and I think there's no better way to justify that than having them being, although they are sort of the comedy foils. I think for if there was a Tisha sort of spat with them, they are definitely going to be the comedy foils in anything like that. But they do also have legitimacy because they're winning these matches. They're smart, incredibly smart tag team.
Yeah.
And their work is very good. Especially they came out of nowhere for a lot of people, I think.
They look back on the empty arena shows, like Shank. It'd been a long while since he'd been on WXW, and it's like they were one of the guys that came. Was it the second set of very empty set tapings?
Yeah, they weren't on Shotgun 2020. They weren't on that. But they'd been, obviously I knew Rotten Flot from, I mean, they did GWF, didn't they, for a bit? Well, no, it was Muscle Catter in GWF, wasn't it? I definitely had seen Rotten Flot somewhere. I can possibly even Wrestling Cult, I think possibly I'd seen it there.
I know I'd heard the name before they did Tag League, before they did the MTV stuff. Let me see what they did. So this before 2020, they'd done Nordish Fight Club, European Pro Wrestling.
I was aware of them.
IPW Germany's might be one.
Yeah, I think I'd seen them there actually. But yeah, I think there's a lot more upwards trajectory with Rotten Flot than the Arrows Are Hungry. As I said, no disrespect to Arrows Are Hungry, but I feel that Arrows Are Hungry at this point would have been holding it to hold it. There wouldn't have been. I don't think there's as many stories you can tell with Arrows as tag team champions as there is with Rotten Flot.
Yeah.
So.
And again, they've been entertaining, like obviously over Coward Weekend, and they're more than just the entertaining fools. They get the job done, so that's a little bit extra credibility. We're going to the Dreisk Orshi stuff, and I know I only gave us 3 stars, but I absolutely loved this match.
Yeah,
and in terms of taking someone who I would dare say for the the Dresden crowd, maybe might have seen over Carrot, in a circle, but to get somebody new and okay. Results defeat, and I don't want to say, like you say when WWE puts someone in a one decent segment, it's like, it's a star-making performance. But for this kind of level, someone coming in, third, fourth, how many matches in, new crowd, and she getting as much as she did against Dreisker. That's a hell of a way to make an impression, regardless of that end result.
And this is somebody that there's a lot of trust in sort of be out, not within sort of storyline, but there's a lot of trust in, and there was an interview with Dreisker. I can't remember. I do apologize. I can't remember the actual podcast it was on.
It was Grapple Theory.
Grapple Theory. There we go. There was the interview with Grapple Theory at Dreisker. He basically said that Orshi is female Oscar, and I think knowing how highly regarded Oscar is as a worker, that's a hell of a compliment. So with that in mind, you're kind of thinking, and Dreisker. I mean, I don't think Dreisker's a difficult person to work with. He's happy to work with everybody, but I feel that he wouldn't work with somebody if they weren't ready.
No.
And
especially not like they did this in traveling and then to run it back, 2-3 weeks later. That in itself is encouraging.
Yeah, for sure. And as I say, as a promotion, they're not a promotion who puts people on who aren't ready. It's not like, there's people in the contenders division in Rev Pro who, I'll be honest, I don't think are ready for sort of the level of shows that they're on. But yeah, this match was really, really good fun. And I think there's a lot of interesting implications from the end of the match. Obviously, the arrows sort of came out at the end to defend the honor of Orshi.
And that spins into a whole bit which I don't think really carried into Hamburg, but we'll touch upon it. But
it's not carried into Hamburg, but it's not carried into Hamburg. Sorry, go for it.
So yeah, the stuff they dropped after the show, that whole backstage thing with Lawrence Roman and so basically I was hungry on the pre-show tomorrow. Dreisker's rubbing it in, you were top at Carrot, you top at Carrot since you lost the belt, you've done nothing, and now you're on the pre-show. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go back to my main event locker room. You pre-show guys can do what you want to do. So all the cheeky little digs where it's like say all the good bad guys, you can go, he does actually have a point.
Yeah, and that's always the best way of doing it, for sure. Not that you should be cheering for them, that's definitely not it, but it's I think you could do a Dreisker versus Dover, match on one of these We Love Wrestling. That'd be a great match.
Mm-hmm.
A Dreisker Icarus match. That's immediately you've got two great matches that you can throw out on the next couple of shows, and it's going to be really good fun. So that's with do you get a point where Dreisker has a worker who he feels is worthy to work with? It's the sort of thing I could imagine if he wasn't in the States and it was a normal world. I could see Dreisker going, well, Joe, it's somebody who I respect and I think he's at the same level as me. Well, Alexander James here, that sort of, you can see avenues they can go down, or somebody, another worker of a sort of a similar standard. You can sort of think, you could do Arrows versus Dreisker and respected worker who he feels is at the same level.
I keep saying we've got Tag Festival, that's coming very quick.
That
seems like a natural end game or payoff of sorts.
Well, I think you could see Dreisker in the world title picture, to be completely honest, at this point. But I think there's still a lot of I was about to say a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of matches. There's a lot of matches to go.
I know we cancelled the Fans v Wrestlers game, but
yeah, there's a lot of wrestling to be done in between then and now. Really, I can't predict anything that's going to go for Tagfest yet. So
every time I do, I keep coming short, so I'll hold those predictions. But next up, shotgun title: Peter Tahani against Maggot. A decent match. Maggot won.
Can't really say much about it. I think it was a good performance from Tahani, as you'd expect.
So I think this is Tahani's first match since Coward Weekend, at least for Direct W. I think that has kind of taken some of the, I won't say the shine, but it's taken a lot of momentum that he'd had from that weekend. I mean, I'm not saying it's a lost cause or anything like that. I think definitely it's going to be the kind of thing where maybe Tagfest, maybe Coward next year, you get that hot traveling crowd, you get that buzz back. I think the we've always been kind of, especially the shotgun title, which has been on all the shows pretty much. you're not going to pull the trick if he's not on all the shows. Well, he's only getting booked once every few weeks. I guess you don't pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I suppose you don't really know what his situation is, really, do we? You'd like to, Tehani, I think, being put straight into a maggot match, which he's not going to win, it kind of immediately puts a bit of a ceiling on him. You need to have a Tehani rotation match at one of these next shows, because Tehani's in the scramble, isn't he, at Broken Rules?
Yes, he is the mystery benefit scramble. Yeah.
So there's going to be sort of positives from that. I think he's going to probably do a good performance in that, but he needs a couple of months of having good matches against good people, and then I think you can maybe look at him probably when we get towards Tagfest. Do you chuck a belt on him, or do you give him a good program with a Dreisker? You could see. I could see actually in my mind's eye, I could see a Dreisker Tehani thing going on. Could you see it? A Guns Tehani thing. I could see there's lots of really good people who I think he could probably work with very, very well. But I think he needs more and more matches with. He needs more and more matches with established guys to sort of get to that point, I think.
And speaking of main event, Tristan Archer retained the Unified World Wrestling title of Axel Tischer. This went 23 minutes. I would have gone into a lot more detail on this, but we ended up running the match back a couple of weeks late. So, any takes on the Dresden main event, or should we just hop over to Hamburg?
It was very nice. It was built very, very well. Obviously, being the whole homecoming thing, Tristan beating him clean as a whistle.
That's one thing I really buried the lead on. So they had the two referees gimmick because Tishan mentioned, every match he's taking cheap shots, he's taking low blows. So they had was Ryan Ringer and Shooter Schultz as the two refs.
Yeah,
and for the most part it worked. Then Rottenflot came out to save the day for Archer, distracting both refs in one goal. Which if it works, it works. And
but the final part of it was still clean.
We haven't been in terms of the interference.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was. Yeah.
But again, it's the whole thing. That did set up a rematch if they wanted one, and make the bridge over. So originally we meant to have had was it Tristan against Jonathan Gresham in Hamburg last week. Yeah. Gresham pulled out, so instead we got an Ironman match.
I'm very well. It seems harsh, but I'm very glad that I didn't go to Hamburg because I was planning on going to this show because it was the Platinum Jubilee, so it was 2 days I wouldn't have to take off work, but the flights and hotel tickets were ridiculous.
The flights cost half term, and so going on with our airports.
Again, all the mummies taking their kids to Hamburg, apparently.
Yes, I mean, I think they said this was the first Ironman match, at least for German, because I listened to the German commentary first, to get both this watched.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure so Sebastian and Christian on German commentary. I think they said this was the first Ironman match in 15 years. I can completely understand why now. I mean, look, it's modern day. We all have short attention spans. I think knowing if we knew then what we knew now, if we knew now whatever. Yeah, I wouldn't do this match after the Dresden match. No, if you had to do the Ironman match, you do that in Dresden and save a two referee gimmick for something else. To me, having these two so quick on top of each other. I mean, because of the situation, you didn't really get even like a template promo or anything like that to set it up. Which again, I'm not knocking WXW. Stuff happens where their hands literally were tied on this.
Yeah, it was a day beforehand.
Yeah.
So
just main event when we get there. But first time in over 2 years in Hamburg, that's Powercrowd was back, and they bloody lifted the show.
Yeah, it was.
Oh no, you said with.
I watched it with English commentary. And apparently it is louder on the German dub, but the English dub, it was dead quiet. The for the first half anyway, up until to be honest, the entire show was really quiet on the English dub, and I think you concur as well, don't you?
There's bits I like to compare and contrast with, and yeah, it did seem a bit not like shouting and then whispering, but it was noticeable points. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a bit of a discrepancy in sort of the dub from that, but yeah, it was. It's a for me. It's my favorite venue I've ever watched wrestling in. I think the Mark Tyler is just brilliant. It's I wouldn't want to do a weekender there, but I feel that it's a venue that every fan of wrestling in Europe should go to at least once.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like it's a very different place to the Turbinenhalle. And for many people, that is WXW Turbinenhalle. But for me, it's the biggest, it's the best crowd of any. And that's why I was so disappointed by the sort of the audio mixing or whatever it was. It's the best crowd in Germany, if not Europe. And it's lively. It's got a great sort of, the setup of the room.
I mean, I guess folks haven't described it. No, I'm going to compare it to a venue a lot of people probably haven't seen. Like Rev Pro used to run the cockpit, which was, viewing was in the middle, was in the round, but I guess it's kind of like that, just a little bit bigger. You had,
I wouldn't say that.
Viewing and teeth standing in the crowd, so it wasn't like all seated with maybe 20 people by the ring. It was like almost like an old school football stadium.
So no, I was literally about to say, for me, it's like watching a non-league football team, in the sense you might have two stands on either side, but you've also got a terrace. You've got terrace on either side at either end. So you have a terrace atmosphere, but you've also got obviously the raised seats.
Yeah.
So there's not a bad. It is like watching at Braintree Town or something like that. It's that sort of watch the Groundhoppers guy for more on that. But
it's increasingly niche now references here.
It's like watching it at something like a Boreham Wood or something like that. It's the sort of the seated stands on one side plus the terrace, and it's a rising terrace on one side and the other one's a flat one near the entranceway. That's what I meant. The entranceway, and yeah. So for me, it is the best venue in Germany. The show itself,
yeah. I mean, I don't want to say I didn't think many great shakes for sure. I mean, it was fine. The crowd definitely, kicked up the arse. And again, that's me watching German. So opening match, Jörn Simmons Levaniel against Rotten Floss, non-title, and bringing up the Jörn and Levaniel stuff. Levaniel's been apologetic throughout for what happened.
Yeah. Don't apologise, just be better.
Yeah, I don't need to be sorry. I just need to be better. Which, yeah, that's very pointed, Jörn.
Yeah, and I think that it's a very relatable thing, and no matter how much you like somebody, if your mate consistently cocked things up, you get fed up with it, and I don't think that's. I really hope that doesn't get a point where, I think Jörn works. Jörn's has always been a tweener for me anyway, regardless of whether he's been bad, he's been justifiably bad, I think. But when he's been good, I've always felt he's had the rough edge on him as well.
Yeah. Play both roles, yeah. But
yeah,
this one,
authentic whichever way he is.
Yeah.
So go on.
This one, unfortunately, Levaniel wasn't better in this match. Jörn, absolutely dominated the new tag champs. Then Levaniel wants to tag him to prove he's better. He goes for his big finish, and then he's thrown into Jörn. Jörn's knocked outside. I think we call it the Snapchat DDT, the old Eminem tag finisher. And yeah, back to Levaniel. That's what I think Sebastian called it, the Snapchat.
The Snapchat, okay. I didn't know.
I think I got inspiration from that Instagram fella. Wonder what the hell he's doing when he's not being thrown into me.
Yeah, you've got quite acquainted with him now, aren't you?
2 weeks in a row, Jesus. At least he said Forbidden Door, I'm not going to be in Chicago, so plenty of miles distance. But from there, backstage, Dan Malman with rotation. We just talked about his tour of the US. Talked about that. He injured his foot there, but he's still wrestling. Rotation support a friend with him, and I'm just going to say this now. Apologies, because I know I'm going to butcher this guy's name.
Ilya Bloom.
Yeah, it's written Elijah, but Ilya. I think Ilya Bloom is.
It's Ilya like Ilya Dragunov, but it's spelled Elijah.
But yeah, he's been called the prospect for a year. He's been brought to Marktal to sample the atmosphere, and this is what you can get if you do good, son. Which, not a bad way to introduce somebody new. He's base rotation second, and go backstage to Sebastian Suave, who's just warming up and distracting everyone while doing so. Guess the main bit here was Norman Harris. He wants to end Bobby Gunn's streak, and apparently had a game made but didn't turn up in time, which was a big thing.
Yeah, just going back to the Droiska rotation one, because we did skip the match, but
they did for 2 seconds back to back then the match.
Oh yes, sorry. Okay, there we go. So going on to the Droiska rotation match, which it was a short one, and not a work rate match for sure, but I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah.
And you've gone 3 here, and
it's the same 3 with the Orsha stuff. And I know everyone's having debates about star ratings. For me, I find it really hard to go high if a match is short. It's
yep, that's fair.
It's I know some people when it's a G1 match with Shabbat was it's 10 minutes of 5 stars. Great, and I probably have gone, but when you've got a match where it's one-sided, understandably so, it's telling a story and the story's being told really well. Fantastic match. If you're going to rate it, not with Dave Meltzer glasses on, it's not going to go high. But in terms of what it was, what it actually achieved, you had Ilya Bloom, taking a few bumps of rotation because obvious reasons. The whole way rotation was selling the foot from the start because he had no bloody choice. Which again, it's not doing a whole 40-year-olds thing, but it's he brought it up. It played in the storyline. It played beautifully into the match. But yeah, Robert Dreisker back-to-back shows where good match worked in real world situations, whether it's a female wrestler in one case or an injury in this one. Absolutely, he's knocking one out of the park. And ignore the number of asterisks next to the match reviews.
It's another example of. I genuinely think at this point, and every time he does one, it gets better and better. I genuinely think Dreisker is one of the best. Is this the right word to use? Special set,
set plays.
Just general brawls. I think.
Yeah.
Just not in ring brawls, but sort of. I'm going to say special set because I'm going to include obviously all the backstage sort of brawly sort of things. So this match. The one from Vaya, the carrot match against Simmons in backstage, which admittedly is not the best, but it's a very good example of it.
One of Norman,
the Norman Academy brawl. I think he's very very quietly built up a very very good, and like every King of Kavik match as well, which I'm going to sort of include in it as well. He's built up a very very good catalogue of special set matches. I'm going to call them that. Where I can't think of anyone who does them better in Europe, really. And whether it's just because he does more than anybody else, I don't know. But this was, and there was the Walter Avalanche match at Carrot 2 or 3 years back. This was the same sort of thing. There was a lot of it during the Gresham match. He does.
You have your style. You lean into it. You don't try. It's like everyone else. You do your style. Not wrestle your match, but you do your style, you excel at it. If you try and be everything to everyone, you can't please everyone all the time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And Avalanche knows that. It's like Robert Dreisker is going to kill me if I did name, but Dreisker, he knows his style. That's his thing now.
And strength he's got, and it's very, very, it's a very underappreciated thing, I think, about him and his work. And I say, I think if you're only watching Carrot if you're only watching Carrot once a year, that's your only exposure to WXW, and fair enough, you're probably not going to see it, but I think it's an aspect I don't think is talked about enough, really.
So after that, we had Tommy Geeson announcing the card change for those who hadn't been aware. A brief segment of Tristan Archer and Axel Tischer, basically just setting the Iron Man match. And then we had Sebastian Suave's bass heavy music, which, yeah, my ears were still ringing for a bit. Norman Harras, I would say, was like doing wrestling, like doing pee in his underwear, but wrestling is pee in your underwear. He ended up wrestling in a suit, a vest, and I'd almost say it was like, I don't know if it's for your time, like Bull Buchanan.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Norman and Sebastian Suave against the Only Friends. Yeah, I think a lot of this was Norman wrestling in his business casual gear, I think he called it, and not being ready.
Yeah,
trying to end Bobby's. It sounds like multiple year. I had this written down, but I've deleted. But that winning run in Hamburg is still ongoing. Of course, Norman was never going to break it, and as we said, we're probably going to have to wait for Junior to come back and do it. But
Junior or maybe Oscar. I don't know.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like it's backhand, but it was fine.
For what it was.
Yeah, it was what it was. Got both Norman and Sebastian Suave on the card. Nobody embarrassed themselves.
No, and let's say I'm happy to see Suave. So I think all of the Smash lads are brilliant. To be honest, I after a couple of weeks back, or a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking, I wonder, is there any recent Smash shows on WXW now? And then I was like, no, there's not. And then I went on Cage Match, and they hadn't had a show since 2020. Oh, so they have got one coming up soon. So they're actually returning. They're returning in this month, I believe. So
it's kind of like their warm-ups kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of. I'm actually quite excited to see because everybody who Smash have brought over, I've loved. I think they're brilliant, and it's kind of a shame that they've had that. My exposure to them was at Carrot 2020, and they've not had a show since before Carrot 2020.
Sod's law.
So it's a bit of sod's law. So I'm actually quite excited for that. But it's good to see Suave.
They take like one big lot and then split it up into weekly hours, isn't it?
Sorry?
Everyone's they tape like one big day of wrestling, then it's split up, so it's not necessarily whatever match won't necessarily be in order to like stitched together.
Yeah, I think, but this is actually a show they're bringing back, like an event sort of feature.
Not a TV taping.
Yeah, so that is sort of something that's coming in the next couple of weeks, or maybe in a month or so.
Definitely keep an eye on that then, because like I say, Smash lads have, pardon the pun, Smash wouldn't been over in Germany, but so afterwards, have the usual Dan interview. Norman fires him for being unprofessional. So suspended without pay. There's a bit of distinction there, but so I guess we're getting a new interview for coming shows. Then we had the finale between Igel Blanc and Senza Volto. This one was 15 minutes, and apart from one bit at the end where it felt like time stood still, I loved this.
Yeah, it was a lot better than the one from True Colors. Again, the same criticisms from the previous one. I kind of not going to repeat them, but I thought this one was a lot better than the one from True Colors. There was obviously the little wobble they did have, but yeah, I quite liked this one. And as I think, looking at the rating, you did rate it slightly higher as well. So
I think it's one of those did play a little bit off past matches, but the post match was the whole. Sense of Aldo's the more senior of the two they've been presenting him as. Idol's now being shown as his equal, so it's not before.
It's not student and teacher. It's
even though Sense hadn't been in WXW before the closed set days, so now they're both on the same level. So now you can pivot away during Sense's time off, and if you want, put Idol Blanc in a shotgun match. Somewhere it's not just it's. He's the card and Sense and Igel Blanc, that kind of card fill up. So, and again, I don't know. We said not going to do predictions, but if they were going to have them run a tag festival, well, both of them being on the same level now means it's not He's
Yeah,
the
it's
guy
credible.
who hurt all over, plus his mate.
Yeah, and I think, especially coming from Carrot, it was Aigle LeBlanc was the one that people were talking about more, I think, than Sense of Alto.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, you kind of it's been everything I said about Peter Tihanyi repeat for Aigle LeBlanc earlier.
Needs to have a run against decent wrestlers, maybe storyline, maybe more of a firmer character, but no, again, no. I mean, if you look at the WXW roster page, it's not that deep, but there's a lot of talent on there, and it's not not saying we like these guys from one match, they're great. There's genuine talent there, and when these all click together, I mean, you said before, we talk about almost like the WXW in 2014, 2015. The pieces are still being built.
Yeah, for sure, and as long as they don't lose anybody, there's a lot. Well, you will lose people over time anyway, just as that's the way of the business, isn't it? But yeah, there's not Aigle LeBlanc against anybody on this roster page will probably be quite good. There's not any dead weight, I don't think, at the moment.
So again, after match, they kind of built the tag title thing, which is now up in smoke because Sense had surgery. So they'll probably pivot back to that at some point. Then we had Psycho Mike against Vincent Heisenberg.
This was a hell of a shame because obviously Psycho Mike was very popular in Oberhausen at Carrot Weekend. Unfortunately, Hamburg isn't Oberhausen, as we've said before, and this was cricket. Don't think they really got it. There was people sat there with their arms crossed and on their phone and looking at the watches, which is a real shame. You could hear there was points where you could hear the air conditioning. Might have just been the editing, but it was a real shame. That definitely the weakest thing on the show by far.
So afterwards, so win by count out. Afterwards, Heisenberg went after Psycho Mike again. Levaniel made the save. Jörn then made the save, and we now get last man standing tomorrow with Broken Rules. Jörn and Heisenberg, which it's I don't want to say this as it's a test for Heisenberg, but I mean in terms of it's a big match on a pretty big card for WXW. This is one way he's got to show he can step up.
Yeah, I'd probably say this maybe Kayvik Schlack's slightly bigger, but this is probably one of Heisenberg's biggest
in terms of singles match, at least.
Yeah, it's his biggest singles match. I still think the Kayvik Schlack is probably bigger, but yeah, it's for sure it's the biggest singles match he's had. I'm intrigued because I'll be honest, Heisenberg's never been somebody I've particularly warmed to. I think he's fine, but I don't know. He doesn't have there's the little bit of spice I think I like in my guys, and he doesn't really have that for me. But I think it's you just got to see how this plays out over a couple of months. I think, and say everyone at that sort of level of experience is behind, because for so much of their career they've worked behind closed doors.
Yeah. And we swear to God we didn't time this, but we've just crossed the hour mark. So let's start by talking about the 60-minute Ironman match. I swear to God we didn't time this. We haven't been doing the hand signal saying stretch was out. But so week earlier, Tristan retained in Dresden, despite the 2 refs thing. Now it's a 60-minute main event, and I'm not a fan of Ironman matches.
No, neither am I. I mean,
30-minute ones you can kind of get by, but as soon as you say 60 minutes, you're telling the crowd
that 45 of it doesn't matter.
Middle 30, 35, and then the final bit. And unfortunately, you got that all as well.
And the other problem is that this show was not live. So unless you was at the show, you knew the result of this, because so you kind of just all you needed to do is watch the falls. To be completely honest, it was let's say they were backed into a corner. I get it. I get why they did it. It's probably just as good as anything else. But for me, it's not something it wasn't really befitting of a marked for the main
Yeah,
event.
and again, you're thrown into a corner last moment.
Yeah.
I even scratching my head now, I can't think, what could you put on that would have been better. And that's not unlocked anybody on the roster.
No.
And, Christ, Rev Pro had the same thing a week earlier. And
Yeah.
you lose, half your main event. It's like, well, do you completely throw out the card you've advertised?
I mean, yeah, they didn't even have Maggot
because he was in. Yep,
he was at Progress. And I think you might have been able to do an interesting thing with Maggot. Maybe you could have done a champion versus champion match or something like that, and I think that probably would have been quite a good thing to just flick in.
They did tend to do the champion challenge stuff in Hamburg, didn't they?
Yeah. So like, I think if they'd had Maggot, they probably could have done something interesting with that. They could have done, a big tag main, like a big tag main. They've had a few times in Hamburg. When I think in particular there was the Ilya and David Starr versus Ilya and Starr versus Thatcher and Walter. Like that was a big tag match that they had in Hamburg in the past, and I think you could have done something with that. But I don't know. They've obviously wanted to do. Again, this adds a bit more legitimacy to Tristan Archer because he's kind of beaten Tisha every time he's been faced him, pretty much, really, hasn't
he? Yeah, because Tristan. Tristan. The only title one time he's lost, obviously, the first one against Jörn, which I think even we said at the time might have been to extend stuff. I mean, in terms of that, the match wasn't bad. If it'd been half an hour instead of a full hour, I would have been much more upbeat on it. But it did feel by the end, but I would say we ran out of ideas because that's just if the situation ruined. I don't want to say as harsh as that, but if it'd been a half an hour Ironman match, it probably would have been a lot better and would have connected a lot more with the crowd. Because I think as well, from I remember, was it Stricker when he was live tweeting this? It was like 10:10 when the main event started. So you're looking like 11:10 finish plus whatever afters. You saw a lot of people clock watching.
Yeah, and you look at the match times of the other things, and you think, well, do you know what? I could have quite happily had another 5 minutes of Dreisker rotation,
or even Dreisker against Ilya Bloom.
Yeah, you could. I would have quite happily had. Yeah, let's do that afterwards. The Levaniel Jörn versus Rotten Flop could have probably gone 10.
Yeah, I suppose we went that short.
And it was like I could have quite happily. There was no women's match on this show. I would have quite happily have had a Allison versus Orshi match or something like that. I think you have to have something very, very good to watch 60 minutes, and especially when anybody watching on VOD knows the result at this point. So it's just it didn't really click for me. It was a bit, to be completely honest, it was a bit of a disappointing card. Especially a disappointing show, and I think it's one of the worst. Not worst. It wasn't bad. I'm not going to say that, but it was definitely one of the weak. It's probably the weakest show from WXW I've seen since the return to crowds, for sure.
Yeah, and all they said was that the Blitz Tourney Catch Grand Prix they really didn't like me. Personally, I didn't think it was that hard, but again, that was one of those cases where
painted into a corner.
You have to throw the entire thing out.
Yeah.
But again, you live and learn. It's not. Again, I'm not saying for every card like this, if you have an impulse, you keep somebody off, just in case, because that is absolutely not viable. But it was what it was.
You do the best of what you have.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said, it was a weak show. It wasn't a bad show. It served its purpose in the sense it's progressed a few storylines for a week, but I'm not likely to ever watch this show again.
Maybe I don't feel rotation stuff with Dreisker, then that would be
but
wider.
A few weeks back I watched True Colors 2017, which
where can you watch that?
That's on WXW now. So I watched True Colors 2017 the other week, and it was brilliant. No, 2018. Sorry, 2018. And it was great. And it was there was things in it that I remembered, and things I've picked up again, and it was really, really good fun. I don't think I'd ever watch this one again. I don't feel like in 3 or 4 years' time I'm going to I'm going to watch We Love Wrestling 32. Yeah, I'll see the Iron Man poster and go, nah, I think I'm all right. Anyway, it just wasn't for me. It won't say it was bad. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, just pulled that True Colors 2018 card. The Future Hector on there, which that's just going through old WXW cards and seeing who's had repackages and who's reinvent themselves. That's that caught me off guard. As did Dunkzilla Davis winning a shotgun title 4-way contendership match. Those were the days.
That was a very good show. That one, very good show.
Obviously, we've got a couple of big shows this weekend. So WXW is basically taping out for the rest of the month. Start Broken Rules 20 tomorrow. All of these are in the Turbine Hall, so Saturday, June 11th. Main event is a rematch of the 16-carat gold finals. Jonathan Gresham against Robert Dreisker.
Yeah.
Got the last man standing, Jörn Vincent Heisenberg match. Tables elimination, Schenkenberg Charisma defending the tag titles against Bobby Guns and Michael Knight. Axel Tischer Noir, Maggot against, and Baby Allison against Eva Klasky and Sebastian Suave. Levinyl versus Psycho Mike, and that surprise benefit scramble rotation, Orshi, Eigelblanc, Peter Tahani, Hector Invictus, and Masha Slamovich, with the winner getting a benefit that they don't know about until they win the match, which could go so many different ways.
Yeah, don't know where that's going. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to be a shotgun match on the We Love Wrestling tapings. Maybe, I don't know. You don't know. There's a few options, isn't there?
And of course, we have the warm-up match, Hours of Hungary against Ilya Bloom and Danny Frey. We touched earlier, Dreiser's mocking the Arrows for falling from being the tag champs to the spot they're in. And they've not been releasing the pre-show matches before, so I don't know whether this is going to be one they're going to put up to keep the storylines going. But
You'd
they
hope
still haven't
so.
released the Carrot alternate 5-way. Ben actually used the damn thing this year.
I don't remember the 5-way from Carrot. Oh, Hector, didn't he? Yeah.
It's one that
Hector was in it. I know that.
Hector's in it, and he ended up getting in. Because I am absolutely drawn blank. Yeah. It was an inch, and he ended up being put in. It was Marius. How was it? Alani won, but couldn't continue with injury, so Hector ended up coming in. So yeah, they've taped the match, obviously, but not been released yet.
You wonder that. Why?
Well, if this drops on, this one drops on demand on YouTube, we'll know there's angle alert, I guess. But so Broken Rules, that's going to be available on WXW now this Wednesday, June 15th in German, Thursday, June 16th in English. Then this Sunday, June 12th, they're taping 2 We Love Wrestling shows. Obviously, we don't have a full card, but what we have announced, and we haven't said if it's for We Love Wrestling.
Morning or afternoon.
Jonathan Gresham against Tristan Archer for the WXW title. New Progress champion Chris Ridgway against Fast Time Mudo. Jörn Simmons, Levinyl, and Psycho Mike against Tristan Archer and Rotten Flot. Axel Tischer against Peter Tahani. A Tag Festival qualifier, Maggot and Heisenberg against Bobby Guns and Michael Knight. Hector Invictus against Michael Knight. I guess the most going to be back-to-back, of course. And Masha Slamovich against Bobby Guns. Also listed Sebastian Suave, Robert Dreisker. And Norman Harris has promised a sexy return. When they used to be a bastard as well.
Yeah, it's Mott Van Kunda. It has to be Mott Van Kunda. Who else is it going to be? The sexiest wrestler of all.
Maybe it's after Randy coming back from Dubai.
Well, yeah, he's not. He seems to be back in Germany now. I think he was pulling our legs, I think, with the whole moving to Dubai thing, because he seems to be back in Germany more now. So I don't know. I mean, Andy is a very sexy guy, so I suppose that makes that scans.
But see, if that's not the entire lineup, will be stuff from Broken Rules padding out, I'd guess.
Yeah.
So 2 shows, June 22nd, June 29th in German. Stick a day on for the English commentary with Dave Bradshaw. We'll be talking about those, I'd guess, next month, depending on how quick they turn around. A few more shows in between weeks and months. The final WXW Wrestling Academy show in Essen. That's July 2nd, 4 o'clock bell time. We're doing a flea market with bits and pieces from the old academy before they moved Tim's house to Gelsenkirchen. And I know the last few academy shows they've not been taping for on demand, but I really want to see, even just not even a proper trainee, but the last thing on the show, if it's going to be taped, has to be Robert Dreisker chucking out a trainee.
Yeah, or maybe even a trainee getting the upper hand. That would be equally as good.
And build into the fight forever stuff. I've heard worse ideas.
Yeah, I really hope that does make tape as a show, to be honest, because it's a very special venue. It's one of the, it's a place where lots of very, very happy memories, I think a lot of people have of WXW come from the academy, the site of, not only great matches from the Inner Circle shows, but also great angles from the past. So yeah, for me, I really hope they do get that. It would be a real shame if they don't put it on tape, but we don't really know, really. So I'm also really gutted I'm not going to be at that flea market, because I bet there's some right interesting stuff there.
I need to get in touch with someone, see if they can at least get like a listing of what they have, because I probably don't have room now, but I'm sure I could make room for some stuff. But
yeah, I'd have to get it sent though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
Can you just keep Gelsenkirchen until September? But one thing we'll say with the Academy in Essen, like we touched on this, back when we did the carriage review. That venue has been, and we talked about, Turbinenhalve, Markthal. As far as small intimate venue, that's my favorite venue in all of Europe, just because, again, wrestling in Britain, you're not really usually able to get that close to the ring. So, Carrot this year, when they,
This is your favorite German venue?
For some small shows.
Oh, for small shows, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, because you're backed up and close, because you don't really have any bloody choice. Mind that being said, I probably aren't going to miss, standing ringside and having to, duck halfway because somebody's decided to do a baseball drop kick in your face. But
the only thing I don't like about the academy is the toilets.
Yeah, I never had,
because I've been locked in them toilets 3 times.
Well, we just talked about ones in Gelsenkirchen, the locks work, and you don't get trapped in bogs.
I have actually looked at the venue, and I've not seen the toilets, obviously, but it does seem like quite a modern place. So I actually think it's going to be quite cool. But I'm not really sad about potentially, because genuinely, I got locked in the toilets for about 5 minutes at the last show. It was ridiculous. It's happened like 3 or 4 times. It's ridiculous.
It's like Resistance Gallery toilets all over again.
Yeah, at least at the Resistance Gallery, like, I don't know.
That's just to read.
Sort of hear the thing. You're literally in the basement in the academy. So not my favorite.
More can hear you scream.
Yeah.
There's some of the cards we've got. Of course, we mentioned earlier the WXW against APC fight for Powers 2. Nothing announced yet, but the poster's got Robert Dreisker, Rotation, Maggot, Baby Allison, Jörn Simmons, Idle Blanc, Rick Salem, and without his WXW belt, Tristan Archer on the poster. And I really don't want to read anything into this, but Maggot's got his belt.
That's interesting.
Okay, well, I suppose in 48 hours we will know, well, time of recording, 48 hours we'll know if that's just me being cynical or not. But that's July 10th in Nanterre, then elsewhere July, Batchcap, Frankfurt, July 16th. Finally, and I know Tass is going to have a big sigh of relief when this happens, unless, I don't know, monkeypox, and I'm touching wood here so it doesn't curse them. They finally run the club from Hell in Erfurt on July 17th. That was the last show they've had to cancel, I believe, from pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Or reschedule. So we've got that, fingers crossed that goes ahead, and then back in Hamburg, the Grundspan on July 23rd for Dead End. August 6th, back at Viturbine, half a shortcut to the top, and then we mentioned this briefly earlier. August 7th, the debut show at the Wrestling Academy in Gelsenkirchen, the Fight Forever shows, which I think what they said was Academy versus some main roster guys. So maybe some of the stuff we've seen on the Academy cards, which haven't made tape, like your Alpha Kevins, Rotation, that kind, which. And these are being taped, I believe. Was it for the Billy deal they're doing? And of course,
but it's also going on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's not, you're not going to have gone, I'm not saying dodgy websites. I'm not going to besmirch everyone who likes Billy, but it's going to be available on sites you probably use more frequently, and more content. And no,
I'm very intrigued by how they're going to come out. If it's just going to be academy shows, then fine. But if you're going to get a sneaky, if you get a sneaky, Bobby Guns, a sneaky only friends versus Arrows, a hungry match on there or something like that. If you get something like that, that'd be kind of really good fun. And I think that would be good, sort of at least from a marketing perspective. If you can throw out a, say if we get somebody on tour, if you could throw out, I'm picking a name, like let's say Daniel Garcia or something, goes on tour with WXW for 6 months. Let's say this was 2 years ago, but Daniel Garcia has a month in Oberhausen, and they chuck out a rotation versus Daniel Garcia match on YouTube. Somebody's going to type it in and go, "Oh, I whack that on." It's just good, because I think that was how I discovered WXW. It was because I was, searching for people, and it was like, "Oh, this is a match from Germany," and it's how I found a lot of these things. So, because it was the old Shotgun where you could watch, Pete. There was a Pete Dunne match on there, against Toby Blunt or something like that, and it was one you could sort of just access really easily, and you kind of need that. I think sort of it's as good as word of mouth, really. Stumbling upon it.
Have a paywall, but have like your gateway drug, for want of a better word.
As long as you don't do like what another German promotion does and have pictures of the women wrestlers' bums in the thumbnails, going for the old algorithm.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as you don't do what another promotion does in Germany for that. But nonetheless, I think it's a good way of sort of drumming up a bit of passing trade, as I think is what we'd call it, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So that's all the cards they have announced until events anyway, until World Tag Festival in September, October, and again, probably expecting a few more to be announced. Plenty of stuff going on the next few weeks. But Mike, guess that's it for another episode. We've gone longer than the Iron Man match, so at least we didn't give away the results before we started.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you would have had more fun listening to us than watching that match. Maybe not. I don't know. You didn't go as long as the podcast I did yesterday with Arn, so.
That one, so you said Groundhoppers Guide. We've got the tinyurl.com/groundhoppersfootball unless you want to search on YouTube.
Oh, you've given us a tiny URL, have you?
It's in the podcast notes, but it's easy.
Yeah.
I guess some folks easy to click to copy and paste. But anything else to plug?
No, not really. Just check us out. Check out the Groundhoppers Guide on YouTube. Type in Groundhoppers Guide on and Eddie. That's usually how you can find it. We did a end of season special, and we talked about, basically we'd almost did like an awards show for the year we've just had. So episode 10, and if you want to slam likes and subscribes on there, that'd be lovely. But apart from that, not really much to promote.
Yes, the usual stuff. Obviously, backbodydrop.com for reviews. I was on the Must See Matches podcast last month with Mark Buckledy and Kieran Fort, talking about Walter and Tim Thatcher from Progress in 2018.
Yes, I saw about that.
So that's up free on their Twitter. I think theirs is at Must See Matches, nice and easy. Goes backbodydrop.com for reviews, and because you're on the website or know to get this podcast. And we'll be back in a few weeks for Broken Rules and whatever else from Wheel of Wrestling Drops. So thanks again, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we'll see you in a few weeks' time. Cheers.